We're just about an hour away from an emergency court hearing over President Trump's push to get his name back on the Kennedy Center. Here's a live look at the building, which has remained partially covered. You can see that tarp there since a judge ordered his name be taken down. Today's hearing is also the first since the administration threatened to demolish the entire building unless the president gets the renovations he wants. Joining me now is someone who has been fighting the administration on this case, Norm Eisen, founder and executive chair of Democracy Defenders Fund. He's been working with Democratic Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, an ex officio member of the Kennedy board. David Drucker is also back with us. Norm, give us a preview of what we can expect from this hearing coming up soon.
Eugene, we have told the court that after it instructed Donald Trump to remove his name from the Kennedy Center, it is against the law for him now to want to put his name on it 2 more times. Basically, it was removed from above John Kennedy's name. He says, well, I'm going to put it on twice below John Kennedy's name. No, we've said to the court, that's a violation of your order. He also wants to rename the plaza that you see there, the area in front of the Kennedy Center, for himself. That's against the law. And also there's this ridiculous statement that they might have to tear down the Kennedy Center and build an amphitheater if it can't be named for Trump. We've said that's absurd and against the law. This is not just about protecting the memory of a fallen president and a cultural institution for our nation, Eugene. It's about corruption. Donald Trump should not be able to take over a priceless building, slap his name on it, essentially take it for himself, and he should not be able to defy the Constitution and laws Congress names this and our other institutions, not Donald Trump. So much larger corruption and constitutional stakes at issue here.
Yeah, Norm, you mentioned their threats, I guess, to demolish the center. I want to read a quote from your motion that talks about that. You write, in plain English, defendants have not so subtly said, what a nice Kennedy Center you have there. What a shame should something happen to it. This is a breathtaking assault on the rule of law. It is delusional and it must stop. The Kennedy Center board says the building is structurally unsound. They say it's unsafe. Decrepit, I think, is one of the words that they used. That must be temporarily closed to completely renovate. It seems like all of this, so much resource, so much brain space in the administration is about Donald Trump's ego here. And sure, there are things that can be fixed. We've all been to the Kennedy Center. There's some things there. There's mice at the Kennedy Center. But this feels like not the way to do it, Norm.
Oh, and the foolishness of it, Eugene, the corruption, the constitutional crisis. Why isn't he focusing on another crisis, the cost crisis? Right. The American people elected him to bring their costs down, to put money in their pockets, not to take things of value away from them. So it's just so ludicrous. He has historically low approval ratings and threatening to destroy a monument to a fallen president just makes it worse. Yes, we've been there. It can be repaired. That can happen while the Kennedy Center is open. For heaven's sakes, we just had the Kennedy Center honors there. We had the Melania documentary, red carpet preview. It's fine. It can operate while it's being repaired, that's how it's gone in the past. That's what we need here.
Yeah. David, there's the legal that Norm just laid out. There's also the political and the cultural, right? You have President Trump, who is obsessed with making sure that his name is kind of around Washington, D.C. at different places. But voters, I have talked to a lot of voters, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, who say they don't really care what he's doing in Washington, D.C. about the beautification. But what they care about is he's not paying attention to their needs. So had he, if he was gluing gold things around the Oval Office and caring and fixing the affordability problem, that'd be one thing. But his focus here seems to be completely off of the ball.
Yeah, Norm spoke eloquently there about executive overreach and sort of alluded to the fact that none of this would be happening if Congress was jealous of its own power, because they would just tell the executive branch, agree or disagree, you don't get to do this, we get to decide this. They're completely absent. Politically, Eugene, you hit the nail on the head. Voters are unhappy with the economy. They're unhappy with the president's performance on the economy. The polling trends have been clear and consistent for some time. But what's a sort of double whammy hitting the president and his party is that voters don't even think he's focused in the right place. And if you look at past midterm elections, one of the things that gets presidents in trouble, this includes the 2010 midterm election and that shellacking. We played the recording earlier of President Obama responding to that. We think of it as the Obamacare election, but in large part, when we looked at the polling, it was also the fact that voters at the time felt that healthcare reform was a laudable goal, but that they wanted the president to focus on the economy. They didn't think he did so sufficiently. That is especially the case as we approach the 2026 midterm elections, and particularly because the president is focused on putting his name all over the place. There are big, huge pictures on some of the federal cabinet agency buildings in Washington that we haven't talked about. And this is the sort of thing that, particularly when you're not getting the big stuff right, it really rubs voters the wrong way, and it is causing the GOP huge problems.